And you just listened to a young girl who was saying that the Nigerian community here is totally very angry. It covers all those aspects affecting the various regions of our people. Bek was the Ijaw country of the Niger Delta of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He went to several schools. His major academic genesis was at Government College, Ujeli. And
go gather, destroy their food. With the camp and that other camp, Songo camp.
Now there has been the release of the 2005 population census in Cameroon. How does that affect your research work on post-harvest fisheries and the revelations from the statistics of this publication? How do you look at Cameroon in terms of the consumption of proteins and other fish-related products?
Well, as we said, the general scenario since the 90s, when the fish production globally and in terms of Cameroon started there was a downward trend. Most economies are experiencing this saga between, there's a high demand for fish and the production is dwindling over the years, and it's even getting much more serious now because the population is increasing exponentially. And we recommend for most of our collaborators who are above the age of 40 to live mostly on aquatic foods. Even when we use the word fish may mean fish, it may also mean shrimps and marine gastropods, so to say. So we think that the challenges are there, and we cannot go into a scenario to ask the people to control the growth rate. It doesn't really make sense because population, demography has a very important role to play when it comes to human suffering. So most people are not really interested in reducing the family size. So we will have to deal with this scenario by doing everything possible to increase fish protein from different sources. We were just discussing the PNAD project. There are many other possibilities to grow oysters and other kinds of aquatic foods. The demand for fish is well beyond, the production. So we as researchers in the field, we're making sure that we try to sustain each project that is dealing with production of aquatic foods, be it shrimps, be it marine gastropods, be it fish farming and the like. One of the very major challenges we have is the reduction of post-harvest and product quality losses. We cannot be in a situation where we don't have enough food and then we are recording post-harvest losses within the range of 15 to 30, sometimes 35%. All range of, we have fiscal losses, which links to economic losses. Then we also have nutritional losses. So that would mean that we have to make sure that we can advise the fishermen when they go to the sea, whatever is landed, it should be fresh fish. No, we don't want to call it raw fish. They don't have to land fish that is almost getting spoiled, because I've had experiences that I've gone to the beach to collect fish samples from Edina and Dockyard, and you pick up fish they call fresh fish, and that fish has between 100 to 1 million cells per gram. That kind of fish is surely carrying most probably some pathogenic material. When it comes to processing, we have to make sure that we run seminars and put up adaptable technology, improve ovens, that we can try to control the process so that we don't fire at very high temperatures, and in the long run we have a lot of fiscal losses. Some of the fish, much of the fish accumulates carcinogenic materials, and there's about 1/3 of the protein is lost. We cannot afford that situation. So one of the things that we are condemned to do, that we are doing actually, is to try to make sure that we reduce post-harvest losses to the minimum, so that, if we can reduce from 30% to 5%, we mean that we're gaining fish that is very important for the food security of Cameroonians. And we know that there are recommended levels by FAO under international organizations about the minimum amount of protein fish protein an individual can consume in a year. Many African countries are far below that level. We were struggling about 17.5 kilograms per year, and with the rising population, If we don't react effectively, we're dropping far below that, and that's not good for our food security base. We know that fish protein is extremely important, especially because the protein in fish is much of it is assimilated because of the low fibrous nature of fish, and the amino acid content is at the levels that are positive for adequate growth to sustain the immune system. We know that the omega-3 fatty acids, especially the polyunsaturated fatty acids that are found in fish, are extremely important in maintaining the immune system and reducing the tendency of gout and cardiovascular related infection. This is for real, and as we said, Dr. Chamberlain brought some reports on a project in Benin, a project dealing with HIV, which established some results from East Africa with the sense that if somebody is HIV positive and the person takes his or her drugs and the person lives on seafood, on fish specifically, the person has a tendency of extending his life expectancy in excess of 10 years. So what we are talking about, the importance of fish, is for real. It's not an imagination. During the Second World War, the Scandinavian countries, between 1939 and 1945, there was very, very little beef coming from Latin America, from Argentina and the rest. They discovered that there are cases of gout, atherosclerosis, and other related cardiovascular relation problems, and the formation of plaque reduced by almost 70% because they were living mostly on cured fish and canned fish. And I think there's a lot of hard scientific evidence about the amino acid profile and the fatty acid profile for fish. And we did some research to discover that the fatty acid profile of aquatic foods, not only fish, marine gastropods and the rest of them, are similar to those of seaweed. And seaweeds they have the same kind of polyunsaturated fatty acid profile with a lot of omega-3 fatty acids. So it is very easy. The chamber can appreciate that as a plantologist, as somebody in primary production, that somewhere along the line, they are, at some stage of development, they feed on the aquatic plants, the fish. So to draw some inference on how they came to have such rich profiles in terms of fatty acids. And we all know that even though most people recommend the use of white muscle, like rabbits and pork and poultry, as opposed to red mussels in terms of the superior quality of the fats, we know that most people, for economic reasons, they carry out intensive lifestyle system. So eventually, since the animals are not allowed to spend and lose their fat, eventually they also accumulate unhealthy levels of cholesterol. And then when we come to processing, what we get worried about, the temperatures that we experience with domestic frying, with raw fried foods, they go up to about 180 to 200 degrees centigrade. For domestic smoking of fish, traditional smoking of fish, sometimes the temperature on the first tray goes up to about 160 degrees. At that time, you set up a lot of, the fats are oxidized and many of the proteins are exposed to oxidation. So with some of this information we are giving out, and when it comes to smoked fish, the smoking system in place, the traditional systems are not very, very conducive. We think that we want to continue working to set up improved ovens and to eventually set up some kind of mechanical filters so that most of the poisonous materials and smoke which are contained in the soup are trapped between the fireplace and the tray so that we can protect our products, because we are in trouble. Our smoked products are not very safe. Luckily for us, we eat our smoked foods in a sauce with oil and water, so the toxic level is compromised. But I think that we have a lot of work to do, especially as it concerns the fact that even the women who smoke fish are also exposed to high levels of temperature and toxicants, especially hydrocarbons.
Thank you very much for talking to people, places, and events, and to the African Center for Community and Development.
Thank you very much for the partnership and the confidence.
Like a poet and writer, and we shall also be very interested in his poem Akbo Dancer.
Some lives are meaningful, some are empty. There are lives that are meaningful, with too much meaning and riches to offer humankind. Long after some of these earthly adventures are no more, one can still find footprints of these great lives on the pavements of our contemporary lives.
Good evening, you're welcome to the program Green Planet.